Hello, and thank you again for joining us. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Dr. Tina Rolton, founder and president of Nations of Women. And the BOATS Network is an initiative brought to you by Nations of Women as a direct response to the economic effects of COVID-19 across the nations. I am so excited to have here with me today Lisa Zevi, and she is an amazing, amazing lady. She's one of the women I consider industry experts within my personal network. And I've reached out to Lisa today to come here and share with us. In our time together, Lisa will help us to focus on 3 specific areas: how to look after yourself from a mentally and physical perspective, how to really stay focused and in control of all the various pieces as a business owner that you can control, and also really would share with us on how to manage your teams remotely. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Lisa. And Lisa, please introduce yourself. I know you're the expert, but those watching and who are going to be catching later on don't necessarily know. So please share with us how you are the industry experts.
Well, hi, good morning, and thanks for having me on this. Great initiative, Tina. So I am an operational business coach, and I'm also an author and a TEDx speaker. I work with business owners, helping them get the right people doing the right things in their business, so that they can really have the freedom to focus on what they love in their businesses or beyond. And so today, I mean, like you, I've had a lot of business owners reaching out to me. Some people are scared, some people are confused, some people are panicking, maybe about their personal situation, about their families, about their businesses, about their teams, about money. It's so overwhelming. So like you, I've been trying to do what I can to help business owners and to give them as much support and advice as I can. I'm very happy to be joining you today.
Wonderful. So let's delve in. Obviously, the COVID-19 is not a Western issue or African issue or Asian. It's really, wrecking through every single nation, if you will. And the economic impact, I think we can't deny the fact that it is coming, and in some instances will be quite devastating. But one thing we both know and I think agree is the fact that in the midst of all that, our mental, headspace, and even our physiological, health, if you will, is at utmost importance. So would you help us as a small business owner? What are some of the signs perhaps that they should be looking out for that would sound and alarm? Because I mean, in some of the responses I've got, they're going at this, like 100-mile-per-hour speed.
Absolutely.
And I believe that sometimes we don't necessarily even pause to recognize we're going down a certain path. So is there like a pattern, a trend that, business owners need to, in this new unprecedented time, should really be aware of in terms of mental and physical health?
Well, I think that the first thing to say is that a lot of people think it's selfish to be prioritizing your own mental health when everything around us is kind of confused and falling apart. But the point is if you don't look after yourself, then how can you look after anybody else, including your own business? So I think it's not selfish, it's actually just sensible. In terms of your question about what should we look out for, I mean, I've worked in change for many years, managing huge restructuring and transformation programs. So I've seen firsthand how individuals respond to change. And there's a kind of a cycle that we all go through. There's sort of various different steps, and we don't all go through them at the same speed or in the same order. So typically what will happen first when change happens is there's shock. So we're completely shocked, and you're seeing a lot of that out there. Then there's the sort of the denial phase, and you're also seeing a lot of that out there. So a lot of people still going, oh, it won't happen to me, it doesn't matter, it doesn't apply to me. So a lot of people still in denial. You also then get a lot of anger and blame. So is it the government's fault? Is it the Chinese fault? Whose fault? We're looking to blame other people. Then often that can turn in on ourselves. Why didn't I stay healthy, or why didn't I do this, or why did I go to that party, or why did I go to that concert? There's also a lot of confusion and sadly depression. People get very low out there. So all of those different phases are emotional responses that we all have. You might one day find yourself feeling quite calm, and a few hours later you're feeling angry. So I think we need to recognise that we're all sort of going through this process. And the end of this change curve is when we finally reach acceptance. So when we go, do you know what, actually this is happening, and this is happening to us all. And so I need to accept it. And only then can you start making decisions. So my advice is recognize where you are in that, stop giving yourself a hard time, be kind to yourself, and try not to make decisions if you're feeling panicky, or if you're feeling confused, or you're feeling anxious. It's not a great time to be making decisions, which is why looking after your mental health is just so important.
Brilliant. I love that. So really what I'm hearing is, there's 3 key patterns that we have to be aware of, whether as a business owner in terms of parenting or in terms of business decisions, is, areas of shock, denial, anger, confusion. Okay, brilliant. So the next thing is, what should a business owner do? Let's say perhaps they experience any of these 3 things. What's your best advice in what should they really do?
So I think we're talking a lot about mental health, and there are various different things that you can do to help yourself stay calm. There are things like yoga, meditation that can help sort of quieten the mind, breathing exercises. One of the things I'm advising a lot of my clients to do is get creative, do some painting, do some dancing, do some music, get in touch with the creativity, which gives your brain a little bit of a break, movement, having some fun, changing your environment, go outside, have a walk. Yes, follow all the protocols of social distancing, but, beautiful sunshine, let's get out there and enjoy a bit of a change of environment. Another tip in terms of mental health, journaling. If you don't already keep a journal, now is a great time to start just that daily check-in with yourself. It helps you get a bit of distance, a bit of perspective, and plus it will make a great read in future weeks and months when you look back at it. But it's the effects of a daily journaling can really help you stay calm and kind of in control. Another thing I think is there's so much information out there, there's so much news, and we're bombarded, and unfortunately there's a lot of fake news out there as well.
Yes.
What I would say is make sure you're getting your news and information from reliable sources, the World Health Organization, government sources, public health websites. If you find yourself getting anxious, put the phone down, switch off the TV, give yourself a bit of a break. Yes, we need to have information, but I spoke to a lady last week who was obsessively checking the numbers, how many people in this area or this city or this country. And yes, okay, check in, but make sure that we're not kind of obsessively and compulsively doing that, because that just feeds the panic also. So there are tips, I think, sort of from a mental perspective. I think physically, obviously exercise, is a great thing. Move, dance, put some music on, move your body, eat good food, drink plenty of water, just look after yourself, just take good care of yourself before you start thinking about what you can do to help other people, including people in your business.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for that. Now, I like what you talked about, like staying focused on what you can control. I mean, now thinking about what's going on, it's like focus is gone out of, the dictionary. But how can we as business owners, because it's very important to still maintain focus, how can business owners, irrespective of geography where they're based, how can they bring back, focus into the vocabulary, into the list of priorities, if you will?
So the key thing is to focus on what you can control. So there are so many things at the moment that we can't control. So we can't control if other people follow the rules. We can't control what other people do. We can't predict what's going to happen. We don't understand, and we can't control other people's motives. We can't control how other people react. We cannot control how long this is going to last. and we can't control what supplies we're going to be able to find in the shops or in the store or in the market. So there's so many things that we can't control. We can't control if we're going to get, you know, what's going to happen if people around us are going to get it. But here's some things we can control. We can control our own attitude. We can control how we approach this and keeping a positive mental attitude. We can control that. I mentioned turning off the news. We can control what we watch and what information we consume. We can control finding fun things to do and getting involved in our creativity. So we can control what we spend our time doing. We can control our social media accessing, you know, related to the news. We can control how much of our time we spend kind of obsessing and looking at that. If we're doing it for positive reasons, great. But we are in control of how much of that information we are accessing. We can control whether or not we follow the public health recommendations. We can control whether or not we wash our hands in the way that is being suggested. We can control if we are following the social distancing protocols. So there are lots of things that we can control. And the most important thing really that we can control is our own kindness and composure and compassion under these extraordinary stresses and pressures we all find. You know, when we interact with other people, we don't know what's going on for them in their lives. We don't know where they are on that change curve. So we might be feeling quite calm and accepting, but one of our members of our team might be completely freaking out. They might have elderly relatives they're worried about. They might have their children at home and they're trying to homeschool and balancing that with working from home. You know, so let's be kind and compassionate. That is something that we can control, our kindness to ourselves and also our kindness to others.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for that. That kind of brings peace to my heart, and I'm sure it will do to many of the other business owners as well. Now, what we're obviously recognizing, and it's, you know, almost everywhere in the world, even churches to not just business owners. I was listening to the news on, I think it was a cafe that had, you know, booked for Mother's Day, and they had to change quickly the business module from people coming in to, okay, we're going to deliver, you can book online, you need to confirm this and that. Even church services, you know, where there's limited numbers. So there is a lot of moving from the physical, if you will, or, you know, personal interaction to like remote interactions, especially around teams. And I know one of your, you know, area of expertise is managing your team remotely. So what's your best advice, your best tips that would help, you know, would support the business owner listening to this?
Yeah, so I do a lot of work around managing and helping business owners manage teams as they grow. It's a challenge for everybody, and what I would say is that when you start managing people remotely, the first thing you need to do is recognize that that is a challenge. Yeah, depending on your management style, if you're quite a hands-on manager, and you're not used to having people working from home, suddenly, you know, you're here on a Zoom call like we are, and suddenly your people are all, you know, around the country or around the town, or, you know, that can be really challenging and really confronting. So I think the first thing to say is just give yourself a break if you're finding that a bit hard. Like, just, again, be kind to yourself. It is a challenge. I'm going to start off by saying it is a challenge. So in terms of my tips, in terms of how to do it, what I would say is, it's not a one size fits all for your team. So say, for example, you have a team of, let's say, 10 people. Each of those 10 people are going to be having a different experience. And so you need to manage them individually. You need to understand that some people are going, yay, great, I'm working from home, this is brilliant. Other people are like, oh my God, how can I balance homeschooling my children? And I've got, you know, the grandma there, and what am I doing? And, you know, as you mentioned, my community, my church, you know, I've got all these demands on me, and suddenly I'm working from home and I don't know how to organize myself, and I'm feeling a bit lonely and isolated. I haven't seen my manager, I'm feeling disconnected, I'm feeling left out. So I think really remember that if you're managing a team of 10, that is 10 individual people with individual situations, and the way that you need to manage them and interact with them needs to be different. One of the things that I do a lot of work in terms of understanding how people are wired. So most people probably know the words introvert and extrovert, but they don't necessarily know what they mean. And it's all about where you get your energy from in very basic terms. So if you're an extrovert, you get your energy from being around other people and collaborating with them. So that it's going to be particularly challenging for those people to be working from home and isolated from the team. That's not to say that introverts aren't also struggling, but we've all got different ways of dealing with it, is what I'm saying. So as a manager, we need to be compassionate and understand that everybody is different. So then one of the really key things about managing remotely, or I would say this in any kind of management, is being really clear about what your expectations are. And I know that sounds like a really simple thing, but be really clear about what you want the other person to do, and what you expect from them, and what you want the outcome to be. One of the mistakes that I find that most inexperienced managers make, and I certainly did earlier on in my career, is managing the process rather than the outcome. So telling your team, I want you to do it like this, or, you know, this kind of micromanagement, you must do it like this. That's not a great way to manage, and it's impossible, really very difficult to do that when you're managing remotely. So think of outcomes, like what is the outcome that you want to see from the task or the activity that you're asking your team member to perform. It's not about how many hours they spend, and it's not about what time of day they do the work. So let's not be a control freak and expect that everybody is going to work 9 to 5 like they might do in the office. Be understanding and accept that people will be managing their times in different ways depending on what else they've got going on in their life. But if you are clear that this is the outcome, say for example you want somebody to do a piece of research and produce a report, you're asking them to produce a report. You don't care whether they're sat there at 11 o'clock at night doing it, or they get up early, you know, in the morning to do it. That's up to them, and you need to obviously take care of your employees and make sure they're not working too hard. But my point is, it's not about when they do that or even how they do that, it's about the quality of the output. So I would say focus on outcomes very much. Another thing I think is being able to build up trust and rapport between you and your team, which is very different. I mean, what we're doing here is a great way to manage people. Put the video on, please put the video on, it helps so much. If you're just doing things by phone call, you miss all the non-verbal cues. You miss the fact whether I'm saying it too sternly or whether I've got a smile on my face. So make sure that you are thinking about your communication style. And as I say, video is a great way to do that. Make time for chit chat. It's not just all about business, so make sure you're asking people how are their families, how are they managing, how are they feeling. I think one-to-ones, which I recommend all managers to do, probably need to be longer when we're remote. You need to have more time to check in with people. So as a manager, that means you're going to be spending more of your time managing people when they're remote than you probably will when they're face-to-face. And you need to have frequent check-ins. You need to have a lot of communication. I mean, I always say this to business owners as their business grows, you need to communicate more than you think you need to, always. And I think managing remote workers even more so. I suppose the next point is you've got a team there. So that team of 10 people that I mentioned, get them collaborating, getting them talk to each other. Not everything has to come through you, yeah? So make sure that your team are connected and make sure that they're collaborating. Encourage them to work on projects together. Again, that will help the people that are feeling a bit isolated and left out. You need to be really organised to manage a team remotely. You need to have your calendar organised, and you need to know your time. You don't want people to be waiting for you, wondering where you are. You want to be organised and be there for your people, which kind of leads me on to my last point, and I have left this to last on purpose: the tools and the technology. A lot of people think working from home is all about the tech, and I've deliberately left that to the end because the tech is just an enabler. If you're not managing people properly and you're not communicating properly and you're not setting your expectations properly, you can have all the tech in the world, but it's not going to work, and your people are not going to be happy, and you're not going to get things done. So tools, things like file sharing software like Dropbox, important to be sharing files. Obviously the Zoom and Skype type technologies like we're using today to talk to each other. My top tip is always, always, always turn the video camera on. People understand that there are distractions going on in the background. You know, people understand that the cat or the dog or the child is, you know, I think we're all understanding of that. So turn the video on, it just makes you much, much more human. Slack is a great tool to communicate kind of non-verbally. It's a sort of a chat application, which is brilliant. You can have all the different channels. So if you don't already use that in your business, that's definitely a great tool to use. And something like Trello to organize your tasks, again, a great collaboration tool to make sure that everybody is organized. But what I would say about tech is it's not a replace, it's an enabler of doing the right things, which is, you know, going back right to the beginning, remember that you're dealing with individuals who have got other things going on that they might not have told you about. So some people will share more than others. Just be compassionate about it. Yeah, your team will pull together. I'm hearing some amazing stories from my clients and people in my network about how brilliant their teams are being. So trust people. A lot of people that don't like other people working from home, it's because they don't really trust their people. Now you have to, right? So I think you'll be surprised at how your people might step up more than you ever thought possible. Enjoy.
Wonderful. I love that. I've taken so much notes. I've taken like 4 sheets of notes here. So I'm just going to quickly run through. I think we may well end up with like a PDF checklist out of our conversation here. So first thing you talked about is that it's okay to look after yourself.
Yes.
You may well experience the signs to look for is shock, denial, anger, blame. Those are all okay, it's acceptable, but don't make decisions when you're in any of those places as well.
Try not to, for sure, yeah.
Exactly. Some of the things that they can do, you know, if you find yourself in any of these phases is, you know, some quietness, stillness, get creating, whether it's painting, dancing, music, journal, go out for a walk, you know, and also when we're looking at like controlling, you know, keeping focus in terms of areas where we can control, essentially, you know, getting information from trusted places, because there's so much information out there, you know. So don't listen to President Trump alone or Boris Johnson or, I don't know, another, you know, Ghana president, Nana Akufo-Addo or any of the other presidents. Don't just take that. Go to the trusted, reliable, you know, sources such as World Health Organization, the Center for, you know, Diseases, all of those well-established information that...
What I would say, if you're not an expert, if you're not a medical professional, please follow the advice. You know, there's a lot of people going, we know better. We don't know better. We're not medical experts. Like, just do the right thing.
Exactly. And also, you know, for me, the best part was the fact that actually we can't control some of these, you know, challenges, such as whether we follow them or we don't follow them. You can't control anybody else, you know, but you can control yourself. So that really should be something that I hope as a business owner that you will actually take on board. And my favorite pieces around the teams is that I think maybe create a checklist and put all the names of your team members and identify that they're all different. So maybe next to the names is identify are they introverts or extroverts, what really, you know, gets them buzzing, if you will. And
ask them what they need as well. Sorry to interrupt you. I mean, that's the other thing I didn't say is ask people how you can best support them. They will tell you.
Exactly. Let me add that as well. So resources that they may require, right? Resources that they may require, and then designate, delegate, you know, bite-sized tasks. Don't be too hung up about the process, but be very clear in the outcomes, the results that you're looking for. And I guess that leads to, like, you know, greater flexibility, if you will, because you have to be very flexible with your team, and then share these outcomes or expectations with them. I guess what I've also written here is when you come together as a meeting, creating space for people to express how they're feeling personally, creates that safe space where they can really share what really is going on in their lives. And I love, the use of technology where you can actually see the other person, because it's true. It really does take away that distance, that feeling of distance.
It really does.
There's many tools out there such as Zoom, Skype that can be used. I've also written here that if possible, like pair team members up, so that they're collaborating, engaging, and keeping the momentum with each other. And really the purpose of that is that they look out for each other, right?
Absolutely. And also bounce off each other. Different people, are very, very creative. They're dealing with things in different ways. You're looking for creativity from your team as well, not just business as usual. Most businesses, as you mentioned, are really, it's like really challenging times for many, many businesses. So you're looking for creativity and collaboration amongst your team. You don't have all the answers as a business owner. If you think you do, you're definitely in trouble. So look to your team. They'll have amazing ideas, and if they collaborate together, they'll be able to bounce off and spark off each other.
Wonderful. I love that. And then of course, don't be hung up about like the technology involved. And for me, the final thing when it comes to managing your teams and even managing what you can control, and getting yourself making better decisions when you're in any of those phases, I've written here, trust is key. You've got to trust yourself, trust your intuition, trust your team, trust the process that they would use to deliver the outcome.
Absolutely.
So trust.
And be
Lisa,
kind.
And be kind. I love that. I just want to say a big thank you, because this has been so useful. I hadn't anticipated taking, actually it's more than 4. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pages of notes that I've taken in our time together. So, if you're a business owner and anything that, Lisa has said resonates with you, please, this is not the time to put your head in the sand. This is the time for you to reach out. Reaching out is courage. So reach out to us. We'll be happy to connect you directly to Lisa to help you. She has, books, information, reliable information that actually can help you get out of this situation, because our heart and our biggest objective is to support you through this space. So Absolutely. If anything is resonated with you, you want further support, clarification, please reach out now at nationsofwomen.com. We will make a direct introduction to you directly to Lisa. But at the end of this video, all the contact information, so you can contact Lisa as well directly, will be made available to you. But thank you again, Lisa. Before I leave you, 30 seconds, what's your best advice, best tip in all that we've talked about? If a business owner wants to ride the storm, what is that magic word?
Be kind, control the controllables.
Wonderful. I love that. So you heard it from Lisa. The magic word from our time today is control all the controllables. Until we come your way again, this is the Business Owners Advice, Tips and Support, the BOATS Network, an initiative by Nations of Women, brought to you as a business owner to help you ride these unprecedented times. Thank you again, and consider yourself hot virtually.
Thank you.